Do you want me to do the intro?
Yeah, you said you have a joke to start, right?
Okay, yeah. Hey everyone, welcome back to the last episode of 2022 of Living Electric. It is hard to believe that we made it through a whole year of recording
Yes.
this podcast. Some breaks in between, but we made it.
That's right. This will be our last episode recorded in 2022 because this will actually be posted in 2023, right?
Yes.
So,
And do you know what 2023 is hopefully going to bring?
what's that?
The Cybertruck.
We've been talking about it since, 2019 announcement? Is that right?
Yep, 2019.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Matchbox and Hot Wheels have made more Cybertrucks than Tesla, so...
I agree.
Yeah, but that's not me shading Tesla, it's exciting. Hopefully they can make it to market this year, we'll see.
Right.
But
we'll see.
We have an exciting episode. It's somewhat holiday-focused.
Yeah, we'll be discussing some of my holiday travels, since I travel around a bit more than Brandon does for the holidays. So I got some more interesting trips to talk about for my with charging and taking my car and all that stuff. And we'll also kind of take a look forward into 2023, what we're thinking, where the industry's headed, where EVs are headed, all that kind of stuff. So get into our thoughts on that. So should be interesting.
I do have to jump in and say that I did take one trip, but it wasn't quite as far as you did. But it was pretty adventurous. The car did almost wipe out on ice on the highway.
Oh, seriously?
Yes. We went to get donuts, and it was Christmas Eve, and we
Very
had to get
dangerous
donuts.
trip.
Yeah, but our Model 3 doesn't have snow tires, but it has all seasons. And we were coming up the slight incline, and we saw like these fire trucks in the car had spun out. I'm like, oh, like something happened, and all of a sudden the Tesla starts veering towards the fire truck, and I'm like, no.
Oh no.
We were only going like about 15 miles per hour, but the car lost enough traction on the ice where the car is starting to like go up from the back, like the rear.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I'm like, please do not hit this fire truck.
Right.
Please.
Wow.
Yes. So tell me about your trip. Did you get donuts?
No donuts. Yeah. Luckily, we do have snow tires on our car. I got them on kind of early, but it was good since we just had some insane weather in the Midwest. If you've been following the news, like we got it. Generally, it does not get this cold this early in the year. Usually, it's till January where we really get like the 10-degree weather here in Ohio. So that was certainly a shock, but luckily, like the car handled great for all the trips I took. We actually have home charging now, so we charged up at home before we left. We made the trip over to Indianapolis, just did our normal single charging stop there. Stopped in Dayton on the way this time. Luckily, all the chargers were still up and running. It had not dropped completely in temperature yet either. We got ahead of the storm a little bit and arrived before it got super cold. But then plugged in at my parents' house, actually. And usually I'll just do the trickle charging, like level 1 charging out of one of the garage outlets there. And we plugged in. We were at my parents' house for like 3 days. And after like a day and a half, my car had not charged at all. Like it was that cold out that the level 1 charger was essentially keeping the battery warm, like just to keep it at temperature. I had Sentry mode on though, which is like does drain a decent amount of energy, I've realized. So I turned that off, and then we started adding some charge after that. So that would be my advice if you're going to be trickle charging in really cold weather. Turn off like any auxiliary stuff in your car because it's gonna sip some power, and the cold definitely slows down charging a bit. But luckily got up to temperature and were able to charge the car a bit before we left. I think we got up to around like 65% ish.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah.
Oh,
another thing I forgot. On the way there, my parents texted me and were like, "Hey, make sure your car is charged up before you get here in case our power goes out." So we actually made a pit stop at Meyer on the way, on the northeast side of Indy, and plugged in there. We actually had to get stuff at Meyer anyway because my parents were missing some ingredients for meals we were cooking, so it all worked out. But charged up for a little bit. I think got to my parents' house was like 40-ish%, but over those like 2 days where it was actually charging, we only added like 20%, which is pretty bad for any kind of charging.
Yeah.
So I think we left with around 65-ish, and then made the trip home. We just did the one stop in Richmond, Indiana. They have a V3 supercharger there. Unfortunately, a couple of those were out, actually. I'm not sure if the connectors
Oh
were
no.
frozen or what, but I tried plugging in at one that wouldn't like even latch to recognize the charger. So I'm thinking something was broken in there, but we're able to move and get plugged into a charger that was working. So
That's good.
um, overall, like crowdedness wise, the chargers were pretty crowded, like more than I'm used to. Our stop in Dayton on the way there, I think there were like, it's only an 8 stall station. I think we took the last one when we pulled up, so that was almost full. Richmond on the way back, a couple were out, but it was almost full when we stopped there. When we made that pit stop in on the northeast side, I think it's the Carmel Supercharger. When we stopped there, that was full as well after we got back from getting our groceries. Like, I think there were only 6 there, but it was full by the time we came back from the store. So, like, all of these were full. And then we had a family party in Cincinnati a couple days later, and we stopped there at the supercharger before we went to the party. Full station. I think I tweeted about that one that you brought up earlier. Full station there. I tried using the EA station that's literally right next door, which was completely empty, which is kind of funny. There was no cars charging at the EA station, but the Tesla superchargers were full. EA station I couldn't get activated. I was using my adapter though, and I know that sometimes those are kind of finicky to use with any non-Tesla charger, so couldn't get that to work. And luckily somebody was moving by the time I like needed to charge, so I was able to plug in there. And then we stopped at that charger again actually before heading home because we were getting pretty low. But yeah, a lot of very crowded chargers on the throughout all the holiday travel. So
It sounds
very
like
interesting.
it.
Yeah.
Wow. So I do have a question because you were going west and the cold front was coming from west to east. Did you, as you were driving, did you notice it get really cold? Like, did you did that impact your range at all?
Yeah, the Tesla's updated somewhat recently with the new energy like kind of graph that shows you a lot of cool information. I should have tweeted that stuff out too. But it really breaks it down like, hey, wind from this direction caused you to lose like 3% more than normal. So I don't know the specifics on that. A lot of that is not like make or breaking like me making it or not generally. Like none of the calculations there are like, oh, if we don't slow down or if the wind doesn't stop, we're not going to be able to make it. Like it's just kind of you kind of lose or gain a couple percent here or there depending on different factors. So that'd be again my a lot of the concerns people have about EVs is like, oh, certain conditions like affected a ton. It's like a lot of these are compounded issues for like a couple different things, and generally it's not affecting your travel plans necessarily. Like I would still have to stop at the supercharger I usually do. Like I'm still gonna drive the same amount. Like I don't think it truly affects things as much as people realize. So
yeah, and I think that's definitely one benefit with like the Tesla network versus like other networks. You know, and I'm not going to get on the topic of that for this episode. We could definitely talk about that another time. But I mean, like it just goes to prove that like as reliable as Tesla stations are, they can still run into problems just like similar networks. But there's a lot more station or chargers at a station versus some of the other networks. So you kind of balance it out there. But I mean, it just, as long as you plan accordingly, you should be fine for your holiday travels. Just expect more travel, more, travelers, more crowds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's funny because I was looking at that energy chart as well after we drove out to like grab donuts.
Yeah.
And because I was curious about it, and it said if you dropped your speed from, I think it was like from 70 to 65, even though I wasn't even going 70 because, there's black ice everywhere. It was like you could save 0.1% of range. I'm like, no. No, I'm not that worried to, drop my speed by 5 miles per hour to save 0.01%.
Right.
So,
And I think it's
Yeah.
the same thing. I mean, it's similar in gas cars too. It's like, are you going to drive to be comfortable and like make it
Yeah.
like in the time you're expecting, or are you going to drive to like drive as efficiently as possible? I think that you're kind of constantly balancing that. But
Yeah.
as I've driven an EV for longer, I think you brought this up before. It's like you almost are less worried about that, especially driving around town, because you're like,
Yeah.
I'm driving an EV. It's pretty efficient already. Like, I'm not going to worry about like
Yeah.
running out of or
Yeah.
like using too much energy just to get to donuts or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. Well, actually, I do have a question for you since you have a 2019 Model 3 and your vehicle doesn't have a heat pump, and
yeah.
our 2021 does. I'm curious, what was your experience like? Because both our Mini and Model 3 have heat pumps, so I'll tell you about that because it was a very different experience from vehicles.
Yeah, I've noticed with the not so much on the like battery end because I pay less and less attention to that anymore.
Yeah,
But
you get so used to it.
just in the like cabin conditioning, I guess. Like the sometimes the I guess it's a what kind of heater is it? It's the resistive heater, I think, is the alternative. Sometimes like the Tesla system doesn't work completely right. Like it's like I'll set it at 80 and then it'll get really warm and then it'll like cut out and then it'll like get really cold again for some reason. Like it just does
Our-
not circulate air properly or something like
yeah,
that. I don't know if you have
ours does
similar
that too.
issues. Okay.
Yeah, like we'll have it set at 75. It's like, oh, it's getting toasty, and I'll drop it to like 73, and
Yeah.
it's like everything cuts off, and it's
Right.
like be consistent, please.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that part was kind of interesting. I've noticed that more and more though. Is like I don't think the like just ceiling in the cabin too isn't the greatest. Like I think that contributes to it. There's a lot of
Oh,
glass too, which just generally just isn't as insulating. I don't think like just lets a lot of a lot of cold in. So I think that contributes to it a little bit. But yeah, could definitely have been done a little bit better. I think after owning the car for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, after finally getting a chance to experience the heat pump and like negative degree temperatures, like it's still the car did very well efficient wise. Like, even at like 90% state of charge, we were still seeing an estimated over 300 miles, which was really cool. I mean, but we weren't driving on the highway, so that was still estimating, city driving. But it worked really well. Like within 10 minutes, it went from 5 degrees in the interior to 80 degrees. Like it like heated up
Really?
so quickly.
Wow.
But the Mini has a heat pump too. And it was weird because the vehicles weren't plugged in. We left the vehicles in the garage, so they both started with very cold batteries.
Yeah.
And we took the Mini to get dinner on Friday night when it was really cold. And it did not heat up at all. Like for the 10-minute drive, 15-minute drive to get dinner. We had to leave the car running when we grabbed dinner. And when we got back in the car, it was heated up.
Wow.
Which was very weird.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's just because the car was, super cold. But the only thing is, I cannot get over how loud the Tesla fans are versus the Mini Cooper.
Really?
Like we went to Home Depot recently before like this like weird heat up, and the car literally was gathering so much attention from people because it sounded like a freaking vacuum driving through
Right.
the parking lot.
Like it's not an engine, I swear.
No, everyone's like, what is happening? And the Mini Cooper's like, silently
Yeah.
chilling. Like
That's funny.
it was so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just curious about your experience with that. I'm glad that it's still, heated up and still worked well.
Right. Right. Yeah. Very, very interesting. I think I kind of foreshadowed it on our previous podcast about the full chargers, how like these busy weekends are really what the charging network needs to be prepared for. It's not necessarily random weekends. It's like these few weekends a year when all of America is traveling, like chargers got to be up and running. They've got to be working. Like that's really going to be a key moving forward. So,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Uptime is key.
right. So I also saw, I don't know if you want to get into this. I saw you lost power and also had to drive to a fast charger to charge your car. Was that out of necessity or was that just because you could?
Yeah. So I do want to tie it back into what we were talking about with like the cold weather.
Yeah.
We actually planned ahead because we knew that like the cold temperature and like the bad winter storm was going to hit us pretty bad. I think we got about like 6 to 10 inches of snow.
Oh, geez.
And 60-mile-per-hour winds. Like it was pretty rough up here. But what was what was fortunately didn't happen is we didn't lose power during that. But we had told our neighbor that like the cars are charged 100%, they'll last a very long time with like, just like the heat running and not moving.
Right.
Let's watch Netflix in the Model 3 if like power goes out. So fortunately that didn't happen. But yesterday we had a 60-year-old plus maple, or I think it was an oak tree. It was huge. Fall and take out 2 telephone poles, or, utility poles.
Utility poles, yeah.
Yeah, and it wiped out power for 14 hours. And it was
How many
horrible.
houses? Because you have a decent amount of houses in that area too, right?
It impacted 100 homes.
That's awful.
Yeah, and I'm not going to get into it because I don't really know the neighbors. They're brand new to the area. But I'm like, of course it happened in their backyard because it damaged the garage behind their home, like their neighbor's home behind them, as well as like it took out one of their fences. So like it was huge. Did I send you the photos?
I saw it on Facebook, I think.
Oh, okay.
It looks awful. Yeah.
It was horrible. So, and what sucked is it happened at 1:30 in the morning, so the utility didn't get there until they got there at 7:30, waited an hour and a half to start doing anything because they were waiting for people to like wake up. And then they started doing stuff. So we lost all of our food, like everything. And what this taught me is that we need to be more energy independent. So we're looking into solar and battery backup. That's something we're planning. But to get back to your original question about charging our car, we had to get breakfast anyways because our stove wasn't working. So, and we were down to I think 55%. And I'm like, we don't know how long this is going to be. Let's just go eat breakfast at the EVgo charger. Right. So that's what we did. Gotcha. The Mini was already at 100. The Tesla was the only one that wasn't. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So less of an issue than probably you would think.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. Thankfully, it's 55, 60 degrees up here right now, which is such a massive swing from what it was 4 or 5 days ago.
Right.
But I'm just glad it happened when it's warmer versus when it was negative 30 with the wind chill. So
right.
Yeah.
Not fun.
So yeah, all the fun.
Right.
But anyways, so 2023 is looking like it could be a good year.
Right. It can only go up from here.
Yeah, exactly. We've been saying that for 3 years now.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to 2023. I think 2022 was such a pivotal year for EVs, not only on the vehicle side, also the charging side. I think both of us have seen it kind of in the on the industry side, which has been cool. You kind of get a peek behind the curtain of what's going on and what companies are planning, the money invested, all of that stuff is just really cool to see. But I'm curious your thoughts. What do you think will be some trends of 2023 on the EV side of things? Either charging or vehicle side.
I really hope better data from the networks. I'll just say that. No. I think what we're going to start seeing, and I'll start with vehicles, is I think that we're going to start seeing more 800-volt architecture batteries, or, batteries with 800-volt architecture, so they can start taking more advantage of faster charging, even at lower powered, fast chargers, to keep consistent rates of charge. I really think that we're going to start seeing more manufacturers introduce that. I'm not exactly sure why we're not seeing more, especially as Hyundai and Kia have introduced amazing products at good prices with that technology.
Right.
So I really think we're going to start seeing more implementations of that. I really hope, and this goes against everything that I talked about a few weeks ago, I really hope that more manufacturers implement, the NACS connector, the new standard that Tesla just recently announced back in November.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
yes, really hope. And I don't know. I mean, I hope that we start seeing different body style of vehicles and not just crossovers and SUVs. I really hope that we start seeing some coupes, some electric roadsters, maybe actually the Tesla Roadster. Maybe that will actually be out this year, right. But, some electric convertibles. And I just really hope that we start seeing some more exciting products. 2022 introduced a plethora of exciting products. But I'm just excited to see where the industry goes vehicle-wise. Right.
What about on the charging side? Anything you're looking forward to seeing? Besides NACS, I guess.
Well, I say NECS because I really think that would help with reliability. I think that would probably
That's fair.
help increase that.
Yeah.
I hope that we start seeing, from an infrastructure side, I hope that we start seeing more rollout of charging stations in some more of like the dead zones of the United States. Where EVs can make it if you're driving a Tesla, for example, but like there might be some more dead areas for non-Tesla vehicles for them to
Right.
have the ability to do that, to do those
Yep.
road trips. I definitely think that we're going to start seeing 500, 600, 700 kilowatt stations. I wouldn't be surprised if like a company announces that this year. I know NIO just recently announced that for China, a 500 kilowatt station.
Jeez.
Yeah, yeah. So I kind of have a feeling that we're going to start seeing those. And the one trend I think we're probably going to start seeing is level 2 charging maxing out at about 19.2 kilowatts. Which not a lot of, there's not a lot of vehicles on the road that can handle that, but I have a
Right.
feeling that we're going to start seeing more and more high powered level 2 public chargers being
Interesting.
installed. Yeah. I just have this feeling.
You just have what's your justification or like thoughts behind that?
Well, so Porsche just recently announced that like the Taycan, like, and like some of their future EVs will be able to handle like 19.2 kilowatt level like AC charging. And Lucid can handle that, the Cadillac Lyriq, the Hummer. I just think that we're going to start seeing more vehicles handle that type of level 2 charging. Obviously that's probably going to be the more expensive vehicles.
Right.
But we're already starting to see where the like the more affordable vehicles can charge at 11 kilowatts, like the Bolt EV and the EUV, for 2023. ID4 can charge at 11 kilowatts. So I just kind of I think we're going to start seeing that that base AC charging start increasing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. 19.2 is like the technical, I guess not necessarily the technical max, but it's kind of like, it's the maximum that they'll probably put in. Like they probably won't go above 19.2 on the AC side. I won't get on all the math on it, but there's like basically beyond that, like you're looking at DC charging for efficiency and stuff. So, but yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that too much, but you are right. Like more vehicles are starting to add add higher powered onboard chargers so they can get up to those higher speeds.
Yeah.
Is ChargeWay going to add in like some 0.1s or something for AC charging? You can do like like 2.1 or 2.2.
Well, but we're probably still going to keep the different tiers of numbers, only because that really handles the entire spectrum of like level 2 charging. I think the biggest thing is that like most people are going to be so focused on time versus kilowatts, and with ChargeWay you have our timer, so you can like estimate like how long, and you can go through the different power levels. So even if you have like a 7.2 kilowatt station or a 19.2, you can select your power and see how that
Right.
changes the time for you. So
Yeah, because it still depends on the vehicle at the end of the day. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Yep. So
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
I know that was like a very quick, that's what I'm thinking for 2023, but that's
No.
my view.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, from my end, I'm thinking on the vehicle side, I agree with you. I think we're going to see more vehicle styles announced. I think 2022, we saw a lot of trucks really were the focus, I think, for announcements. I still think that's going to be a focus moving forward. Like you said at the top of the episode, I hope like, the Cybertruck start rolling out, like the Chevy Silverado EV is going to hopefully be rolling out. Like there's a lot of kind of trucks, I think will kind of set the next couple of years of like the new EVs coming out. Whereas initially it was more, sedans that were being the focus and crossovers. But yeah, I agree. Like both you and Tyler and I have all said like we need a fun like 2-door coupe electric car.
Yeah.
Like like I think your Mini might be the closest to that that's out there right now.
Yeah, it is. I feel like I'm trying to like rack my brain around like what 2-door EVs are out there, and all I could think of is the Mini and the Rimac, which are like obviously very different,
right?
You know, in terms of price point.
Yeah. Or like the original Tesla Roadster, wasn't that
true.
a 2-door? but like you can't buy those.
Nobody
so
can fit
it's
those.
like, yeah, like I would love a Nissan like Z that was like an EV, or like a 8.6 that's an EV. Like there's so many like fun little two-door gas cars out there that would be awesome as EVs, because people like they're not really daily drivers. Like they are, but they aren't. Like they'd be good for commuting, but like I wouldn't want to take those long distance necessarily. So
I want an
I would
electric.
love to see more of those.
Yeah, an electric 911 would be amazing.
Yeah. I think Porsche has learned though that there's so much opportunity with their electric platform. Like people are clearly interested in it, because didn't the Taycan like sell more than their gas like vehicles? So
I believe it's outsold the 911, the Panamera. Like
that's wild.
It's become a hot seller for them, which is good.
So hopefully they learn from that and start pushing more electric models, because there's clearly a demand for them. So, but yeah, that on the vehicle side, I'm hoping for. I think I agree with you on the 800-volt platform. I think we'll see more of those. What else on the vehicle side? I think we're going to see a lot more plug and charge capable. The ISO 15118 capable vehicles. I think that's very much going to be a trend for 2022 or 2023. And I think that's going to be a key moving forward, just like holistically in the EV charging and EV, ecosystem, is just that kind of streamlined usability across everything. So it's way easier for people to use, because for EVs to beat gas vehicles, they've got to be easier to use than gas vehicles. So gas is still easier to fuel up, like whether you like it or not. Like it is easier, especially out in public. Like that is an easier process to pump your tank. Home charging, obviously, significantly easier. Like that part is way easier, but to actually convince people and like on a wide scale, public charging's got to be equally as easy. So I think that's going to be very much a trend moving forward. You mentioned the kind of filling in the gaps in charging. All of the NEVI funding is coming out. The corridor funding is coming out next year. So
yeah, it is.
So whether you like it or not, I mean, I think it's going to be investment in those things at least. So like something's going to get done, whether it's executed well or not. I mean, I think that's going to be at least kind of kicking off next year. But
do you mind if I explain? Do you mind if I explain my tone just now?
Please. Yeah.
I just like, like everything that like we have experienced, like working in like the industry and just like learning more about like behind the curtain and just like, how good and bad the industry can be. I just really hope that this isn't like a cash grab for a bunch of companies who are just going to put in bad charging stations just to say that they met those, requirements. Right. So I'm like, please let it be done right. So I'm gonna keep my hopes at a minimal level, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents. I know it's a bit pessimistic, but we'll see.
So on the flip side of this, I'll give you a positive spin on it as well. Even if it's bad hardware being installed, the amount of utility upgrades and kind of the make-ready work that needs to be done, I think will set the groundwork for a good charging network and good charging system in the future. Like you said, I doubt it's perfect from the get-go. Like there's lots of requirements for this that they're already starting to kind of roll back, because it's clear people can't meet them with like, Buy America requirements, and like I have a feeling the uptime requirements will probably be crawled back a little bit. So I appreciate the optimism, and I think that's still something to shoot for, but I don't think it's going to really hit those marks, especially year one. So it's really exciting though that there is that investment. And like I said, I think the make ready utility work, getting that groundwork laid, because you could always come back and swap a charger. It's a lot harder to come back and swap utility equipment. So that's at least how I'm viewing it.
No, I think that's a very positive spin on it. I mean, 2015 Brandon would have been like to the stars with that announcement. But I'm like 2022 and 2023 Brandon, I'm like, just do it right. So like, I know I agree with you. I mean, like, I think another thing is, and like, I just had this argument like on Facebook. about, utilities, like, and like, them essentially asking not to utilize electricity as much during like the holidays and the colder weather, and people
Right.
doubting if EVs can handle it. The improvements and the upgrades to to the grid need to happen. So this is a
Yeah.
very good thing, regardless, if it
Yeah.
helps EVs or not. So
Right, and I think that's another trend I think we're going to see a lot moving forward is the what's it called? The just kind of energy management as a whole. I think that
yeah,
trend is going to continue. You mentioned getting solar for your house. Like I
yeah,
think that trend is very much going to continue. People are going to see that, we can not only be, energy independent as a nation, but also as individual people we can be
yeah,
energy independent, which Americans love independence, right? So
yes,
we're
yeah,
gonna try to do our own thing where we can. So I think more programs for that and more opportunities for that are going to show up, not only on kind of a residential level, but a like commercial level. Like it's going to be definitely headed that direction to kind of manage our power better and
yep,
share it and all that stuff. So we're meeting our needs. So
yeah, yeah. I like that take on 2023.
yeah,
I like it. We're going to become more energy independent, and we're going to make
right,
things better for everybody. So,
right.
yeah,
So I think that's my biggest things I'm kind of looking forward to. I think we're just going to see the industry continue to transform. I think we're going to see a lot of newcomers in the industry. Like we've said it before, there's a ton of money flying around just in EVs. I think there's going to be continued investment in it. I think people really do see it as the future now. It's not just a niche like fringe thing anymore. But yeah, I'm excited where all this goes. I think both of us will say like the most important thing moving forward as usual is like making sure people are educated, like making
yes,
sure we're doing things
yep,
right, and that education is gonna like be the background for that. So
yep. Amen.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah. Well, okay, so I know that we started Living Electric talking about like EV ownership and like our content production. Do you want to wrap up today's episode with talking about like what you have planned for content in 2023?
sure. Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. Yeah, I could go
Okay.
first. Yeah. So Tyler and I, we're hoping to still continue to create reviews for Clean Technica. We are continuing to partner and make relationships with different manufacturers as well as like different like logistic companies to get loaner vehicles sent to us for press reasons or press vehicles. So we're going to be reviewing the Rivians hopefully sometime in February.
Oh,
That got
nice.
pushed back a little bit due to the holidays and
Right.
some supply chain issues. So we're hopefully going to be reviewing them. The Hummer should hopefully be coming. We're hoping to get some of the new Lexus plug-in hybrids and electric vehicles, as well as Toyota and Subarus. So lots
Nice.
of exciting things for Clean Technica.
That's awesome.
And then for Everyday EV, we are hoping to post one long video and one short video weekly on Saturdays.
Oh wow. Okay.
So we're going to really put a lot of focus on our misconception series, partner with Recurrent Auto to work with them to get more data for these videos, and really, really focus on the education aspects of
Right.
EV ownership and just make
Yep.
sure people understand what they're getting into. So,
Right.
yeah. Yep.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
the way we're looking at it, we're focusing on the work, not the after party. That's
Yeah.
2023.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, I actually spent some time yesterday starting to kind of plan out my content schedule for next year. Because this year was a mess between everything else going on.
We were,
So
we were both
I'm,
so busy this year.
I know, yeah. But yeah, looking to hopefully be a little bit more streamlined. And I think my goal is going to be to post a video bi-weekly, so every other week,
Yeah.
because weekly is just way too much for me to do. I've noticed. So between the podcast and everything else, it's a lot. So and I'm also getting married this year, so there's a lot of
Yeah.
lot of planning that's going to have to go into that. But we're excited for that, and a lot of changes personally in my life that have put a lot of the content stuff on the back burner. But looking to kind of get back to it and at least just be a little bit more sustainable about what I'm posting and how often I'm posting. So I think
Sweet.
I want to post a lot of shorts though, because I think those are easy to do. They're quick to kind of get information out there quickly if I see something cool or there's a quick topic I want to talk about. So looking to do more of that. But I think similar to you, I want to do a lot more car reviews. I think that was some of the more fun videos to do in 2022. So I definitely want to do more of those. And yeah, gonna just continue to make videos when I have time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and obviously Living Electric, we'll
Of course,
continue to
yeah.
post Living Electric. So
Yeah, we're going to continue this. Obviously, if you've got, topics you want us to talk about in the new year, definitely shoot us an email or drop us a DM on our social pages. We're always looking for suggestions there of what you want to hear about. So,
yes. Let's send the good vibes into 2023.
yes.
So, yes. Cool. Well, that's all I have.
Yeah.
I'm sure things will pop up, but
Right. Yep. That'll do it for this week's episode. Let us know what you liked about 2022 at EVs. Let us know what you're looking forward to in 2023 with EVs, and we'll see you next year.
yes, Happy New Year.